By the world's premier designers. No one has more fashion-forward jewelry than IDC. Plus, our gold jewelry and gold bullion selection is triple. And we're the #1 retailer of pre-owned Rolex timepieces. So as you look ahead and plan for a new year with only good surprises, remember International Diamond Center. Locally owned, internationally connected. Now with 9 Florida locations, from Gainesville to the Treasure Coast and along the I-4 corridor. Let IDC help you celebrate what matters most in the new year. 4 Orlando locations and online at shopidc.com.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
What happens when Orlando's sports leader welcomes in the worldwide leader in sports?
Yahtzee!
You get magic. Catch ESPN weekends on 96.9 The Game. Plus, more Major League Baseball, NBA, and college football coverage than ever before. Keep it locked right here. This is FM 96.9 The Game, the local home of ESPN Radio. Mike Bianchi's Open Mic.
Mike.
Childhood obesity is because of the internet.
Childhood obesity is not because of the internet.
Yes, kids just stay in their room on their little devices.
On their
and
Fortnite machines.
Yeah, play their little Fortnite games on the internet with the other fat little kids. And that's how they get fat.
Catch Open Mic weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on FM 96.9 The Game. WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, the home of Orlando City Soccer Club.
Time to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. We are loud, we are live, we are local in Orlando and in Jacksonville, 6 to 9 a.m. So many ways to listen to us, so many ways to watch us. FM, AM, HD radio. You can download the free iHeartRadio app and watch us, and listen to us online. You can also watch us online. We have 3 different mediums in which you can watch us. You can watch us on Twitter. You can watch us on the Twitch machine, and you can watch us on the YouTube machine. Just go to YouTube and look for the Open Mic live stream, and we are right there, although I'm not on it right now because I cannot find the link that I'm supposed to click on.
How do you lose the link? It's the same damn link every day.
Looking for the link that says the real one.
Goodness,
this one. Yeah,
Mike.
I cannot find it anywhere. Okay. I will find it during the break. Right now there's probably just a blank space where I'm supposed to be. Is that right?
No. I have a stock photo of Mike Bianchi diving across. I mean, wait.
You know the classic Mike Bianchi photo.
2 minutes before airtime, if I don't have connection with you yet, I just slide that one in and I wait for your morning face to pop up there, and then I'm like, okay, there we go, and then I switch it over. So we'll get it.
We will get it. All right, that was Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect right there. He's our video offensive coordinator. Then, of course, we have Austin Pastolka, our audio defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
The Sultan of Sound.
That's right, brother. Let me tell you, ready for an exciting day today on Open Mic. I don't know why it's exciting, but it's going to be.
We have a lot to talk about. We want to hear from you. We are not only going to discuss the College Football National Championship. Last night I took 2 naps just so I could stay up, and luckily Alabama blew them out, so I didn't have to stay up for the whole thing. But we want to hear what you think about the game. 407-916-8255. You can tweet us at 96.9 The Game and at The Game Jacks. You can also text us on our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. We will get into that game momentarily. But as always, we like to begin our show with an open mic early morning inspirational quote of the day. This comes from the great Joe Girard, who once said, and I quote, "The elevator to success is out of order. You'll have to use the stairs one step at a time," end quote.
That was Joe Girard or Joe Girardi, the former?
Yeah, that's Joe Girard, the famous salesman back in the day.
That means that, listen, there's no quick way to success. Success is achieved by hard work, putting one foot in front of the other, climbing higher and higher where the steps maybe get tougher. But the road to success is not an elevator. It is a flight of stairs, and that's how you get there.
And I always take the stairs. I never take the elevator. You want to know why? Because that's how you can maintain being in shape without really having to work all that hard. If you just take the stairs every day, that's at least some exercise, right?
Yeah, it's good exercise, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I still take the elevator, but, your choice, Mike. Oh, what?
Of course you do.
Of course I do. What do you mean, of course I do?
Means you're a husky guy.
Oh, man, going to start calling me Fats Domino over here. Jeez, Mike.
All right, we will get to the fading, injury-plagued Orlando Magic losing yet another game last night, but obviously we're going to start with the college football national championship game. Alabama wins its 6th national title in the last 12 years under Nick Saban by routing the Buckeyes of Ohio State 52-24 last night. Here's what it sounded like.
Play action. Mack looks, floats it out, left side. Devontae angles for the corner of the end zone. He is in. Touchdown, Alabama. Alabama on a second down play. Mack looks wide open, left side. Najee out of the backfield, makes the grab at the 10. Cuts inside the defense. He'll fire forward. He's got a touchdown. Mack straight drop. Mack looks long. Mack finds Devontae behind the defense. He is in for a touchdown. Thank you, Mr. Heisman. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, a Unitas Award winner. What a combination. That is it. The final score, Bama 52, Ohio State 24. Alabama does it. 10 regular season SEC wins. An SEC championship, a Rose Bowl championship, and national championship number 18.
Well, to me, this is the ultimate team. All these guys bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently.
That was the great Nick Saban. I'm reading from the Associated Press story right now. Heisman-winning wide receiver Devontae Smith was uncoverable. Running back Najee Harris unstoppable. And Mac Jones impeccable. That's what happened last night. Those guys were unbelievable. And, of course, Saban is unbelievable. It was career national title number 7 overall for him. That broke a tie with Alabama great Paul Bear Bryant for the most by any major college coach. The only positive thing about this is I was able to go to bed right after halftime. It was not, it was fun watching Alabama's playmakers just run all over Ohio State. Devonta Smith, good Lord. I'm so glad I voted for him for the Heisman. 12 catches, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half. In the first half. I mean, he hardly even play. Did he even play in the second half? He left the game with an injury. I think he returned to the sideline in the fourth quarter, although I was already in bed. His right hand was taped up. He was wearing a Heisman mask. Did he play in the second half much?
No, he did not. Once he went down
once
with
he went
injury.
out, he never came back in.
Yeah. So, yeah, and again, they didn't need him. And give Alabama outgoing offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian credit, because Ohio State's defense, and I realize Alabama has playmakers all over the field, but he had some schemes. There were a couple of times where Devontae Smith was matched up with linebackers, and he just blew by those guys. And so give Sarkisian credit. Mac Jones, 36 of 45, 464 yards, 5 touchdowns. He might be the most overlooked quarterback in recent college football history because of all the other playmakers. And he did finish third in the Heisman voting. But good Lord, what a season he had. He set the single-season record for passing efficiency. Najee Harris, who was fifth in the Heisman race, he had 158 yards from scrimmage. Here's when I knew it was over, all right? First series. Like I said yesterday, I thought Ohio State might win this game. In fact, I predicted them to win. First series, Trey Sermon goes out with an injury, Ohio State star running back. I knew then it was over. It was over. That was Ohio State's only chance in this game was to control the ball, run the ball, have a balanced offense, and then Trey Sermon goes out with an injury, taken to the hospital after the first series. That was it, was it not?
Well, I mean, you got to give Ohio State some credit because at one point it was 14-14. Once they settled into the game and Justin Fields sort of calmed down a little bit, it looked like they were going to go try to match serve with him. The problem is when you play a team like Alabama and they break serve. And now you've punted. Remember when Mac Jones got stripped for the fumble and Ohio State punched it in to tie things up? I go, okay, we got ourselves a little bit of a ball game here. But you needed like 3 or 4 more moments of that against Alabama because you just couldn't stop them if you were Ohio State. And you mentioned the times where you got Devontae Smith against linebackers. It was something that they pointed out. They were playing a 4-4 defense last night. They played 4 down linemen and 4 linebackers. Do the math on that. With all the athletes Alabama has, that means you've got some slow guys trying to cover some really quick or fast guys. And I like the fast guys in that matchup every single time, and Alabama was able to exploit that. And then once Alabama got it moving in the right direction, then Ohio State became like just about every other victim of Alabama and just got absolutely run over.
Yeah, and again, when Sermon went out, they couldn't run the ball. And I thought that was their chance. We talked to Andrea Adelson of ESPN about it yesterday, and she said the fact that Ohio State has a balanced offense, unlike Florida, who could only rely on the passing game. Unlike Florida, Ohio State has a balanced offense, and I don't even know what their total rushing yards were, but they were out. Again, Trey Sermon had rushed for 200-300 yards in his last couple of games, and I just called up the box score. They had 147 yards rushing the football. They were outgained 621 to 341 by Alabama. So again, Ohio State needed to have its full allotment of talent, and when they had the injury early, that was it for them. We're going to get into more of the national title game. Obviously, Nick Saban officially, I guess, becomes the greatest college football coach of all time. We'll get into that story. Also, we're going to get into how to improve college football now that the season is over. Dan Mullen was on an ESPN special yesterday. He had a couple of suggestions. We'll get into that next on Open Mic.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah. More Open Mic in minutes.
he won a lot of different ways. He won throwing it, he won running a wishbone, he won it running conventional, offensive formations, and his legacy lasted, over a long, long period of time.
That is Nick Saban, the GOAT, trying to be humble, saying nobody compares to Bear Bryant. Well, yeah, you're right. Nick Saban doesn't compare to Bear Bryant. He's greater than Bear Bryant. It's now official. He goes to 7 national titles, 6 at Alabama, 1 at LSU. Bear Bryant did have the most national titles. He had 6, so Saban was tied with him. And after blowing out Ohio State last night, Saban goes to 7 national titles. Come on now. It's not anybody who would argue that Bear Bryant is greater than Nick Saban. It's so much harder in today's world to win a national championship. It really is. Back when Bear coached in the 60s and the 70s, there weren't nearly as many programs in football or in basketball, for that matter, capable of winning a national title. I mean, 50 years ago, you didn't have your UCFs and your Boise States, or even your Oregons, or some Florida States. Even Florida 50 years ago didn't really take football all that seriously. Back in the Bears' day, there weren't scholarship limitations. There weren't these big money TV deals that evened up the playing field and allowed so many different schools to compete at the upper echelon of college football. Any argument that Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time?
I mean, I have an argument against it's harder to win today, considering the college football playoff has had the same 2 or 3 teams in it every single year. I don't know where you're getting this idea that anyone can win a national championship. I don't know where you're getting that. I agree that Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time. However, I disagree with your reasoning.
So I'm with Mike on this one. I really don't even think it's close. And what I would envision, and I these are all hypotheticals now, because I think, to me, Nick Saban has made there be no argument at all, is if Nick Saban doesn't exist, right? Mm-hmm. Then Alabama's not winning 6 of these things in the last 12 years. And it spreads the number around, and then maybe you do say, "Hey, listen, man, the national championship's up for grabs." For LSU has a couple, Florida has a couple, Clemson has a couple, maybe Georgia has one. Well, hey, if it's not for Nick Saban, I know Georgia has at least one. Has at least one more. Maybe it is USC or Texas A&M, something like that. Maybe Notre Dame has 1 or 2 now, but Nick Saban has made all those other arguments null and moot. I mean, these are moot arguments, because Nick Saban and Alabama, you combine historically one of the 3 greatest programs of all time with what we are arguing is the greatest coach of all time, plus the money now that college football has, and Alabama's willingness to spend it back into the program, and you have this absolute machine of a college football program right now that honestly, you don't see the end until Nick Saban decides, I'm kind of done. That's when it'll be done. And that's only if they don't find the right successor.
And here's the other, Austin, college football has always been dominant. It goes through cycles, obviously, but college football's always been dominated by a few teams. I'm just saying that there are a lot more teams today that can get into the mix, all right, and maybe change the cycle. But again, back in the day, you had on the West Coast, you had USC, all right. In the Midwest, you had Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, all right. In the Southwest, you had Texas, all right, and Oklahoma, and back then, in the South, you had Alabama, and that was pretty. And you had Notre Dame always in the mix. So again, I don't know. Penn State has been had their cycles as well. But college football's always been dominated by certain programs. But you cannot deny that in today's world, I mean, you just look at the SEC. How many different SEC teams have won national titles over the last, 20 years? You can go back to, Tennessee's won one, Auburn's won one, Florida's won a couple, Georgia's won. Has Georgia won one?
No, I'm not. 1981.
Yeah, but they've competed for national titles. Am I forgetting anybody?
What, did you mention LSU? You mentioned LSU.
Yeah. LSU's won. Yeah, LSU's won a couple. One under Saban, one under Ed Orgeron. So again, back in the day, Florida wasn't even in the mix for national titles when Bear Bryant was coaching. Florida was a 7-5 program who didn't invest a whole lot of money into their football team.
Well, Mike, think about the two programs inside the state that each enjoyed a dynasty type run. Florida State and Bobby Bowden and Miami. Those two schools didn't exist football wise when Bear Bryant was doing it at Alabama. Different times.
They existed, but they weren't putting any money into their program.
Listen, up until 1980, Miami didn't exist in football. Okay,
you're right.
Listen. For Miami, back before 1980, the Saban you were talking about was Lou Saban. Okay, that's a lot different.
And I'll say this as well. I mean, we could take the argument. I've written columns before. I don't care that John Wooden had 11 national championships. To me, Mike Krzyzewski is the greatest college basketball coach of all time, even though he doesn't have nearly as many national titles as John Wooden. Back in John Wooden's day, there were like 16 teams in the NCAA basketball tournament. Nobody invested in basketball back in those days. Hell, I remember back when John Wooden was coaching, I've read stories that Florida's basketball program, way back when, they had like assistant football coaches coaching the basketball team. That's how much they cared about basketball back then at the University of Florida. And I'm not saying Florida's on par with the great college basketball programs today, but they spend just as much money as anybody else, and they've won national championships in basketball. That would have never happened back in the day. So we have no argument that Nick Saban's the greatest of all time?
No.
No, not at all.
No. The only person in my mind that maybe rivals him is the great Tom Osborne, baby.
No.
Yeah, Nebraska was great back in the day, and I just saw yesterday Nebraska's best receivers transferring.
He's transferring not for football reasons. His mom is sick, and he's getting closer to his family.
Yeah.
All right, get out of here with that garbage.
Well, what's the guy's name?
Wan'Dale Robinson?
Yeah. Wan'Dale Robinson. He said a half of it is because his mom is sick, and the other half is he doesn't like the way he's being used at Nebraska.
He doesn't like how he's being used. He's used every other play.
Mom's sick. Believe me, he's sick of that football program.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Too.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
Yeah. All right, straight ahead, we're going to have a spontaneous text question. I want you to think about it during the break, all right? Ways to improve college football. Ways to improve college football moving forward. And don't say expand the playoffs. We know that, all right? Other than expand the playoffs, ways to improve college football. That's next on Open Mic.
What does Mike Bianchi and the next commercial break have in common? They're both short.
Now listen here, Mr. Frodo. Don't get short with me.
More Open Mic after this.
The Christmas gift-giving occasions are over, but there's always a reason to give a gift, whether it's Valentine's Day, whether it's birthdays, graduations right around the corner. If you want the perfect gift for the sports fan in your life, let me tell you about my good friend Nancy. She used to run a quilt shop in Winter Garden. That closed at the beginning of the pandemic. Now she makes sports gifts because she's such a huge sports fan. You can go to NancyLovesSports.com, browse her personalized sports towels, team pillows, gift bags, face masks, onesies for the baby, and so much more. Also, if you ever wonder what to do with your kids' sports t-shirts or jerseys, Nancy makes a beautiful custom quilt out of these things. You can hold on to it and cherish it and have the memories for a lifetime. Again, they make a perfect graduation gift. If you don't see what you're looking for, send her a message. She will work on customizing just the right thing for you. Enter the code BULLDOG for 20% off your order at NancyLovesports.com. That's Nancy, Nancy, Lovesports.com.
For years, you've been
and text us your thoughts to the Academy Sports and Outdoors text line at 50857.
We have a thought-provoking daily poll out there. I don't think any of us are going to disagree, or I don't think any of us have a differing opinion on it, but I'll read the poll anyway. Now that the pandemic-plagued college football season is over, was it worth it? That's the question. I think it was worth it. Do any of you guys think it wasn't worth it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it gave us something to watch. It gave us something to talk about. Nobody died. Was it worth it? I think it was.
I mean, I have a differing opinion on this.
Okay.
And it's not because I don't think the college football season went poorly. I don't think it's because it was anything wrong that college football did. It was more the fact, I don't blame the schools for it. Okay. It was more the fact that because another thing was back to normal probably before it should have been, I think that it put the country as a whole behind the eight ball when it comes to the coronavirus. We're still seeing numbers shoot through the roof, and I think it's because we didn't take enough things away, if that makes sense. So, if college football doesn't happen, then maybe high school sports doesn't happen. So that way we protect more people. And so just the idea of everything is back to normal, so we don't have to worry about it, that's kind of what came with college football, in my opinion. And so was it worth it? I don't know if it was worth it because of that.
Well, I definitely think it was worth it. Again, there's been some columnists out there who said, well, look at all the players who contracted the coronavirus. And I'm like, well, they probably would have contracted it anyways. I think it was UConn who canceled their season. They had 24 players who contracted coronavirus during the course of the season. So just because you're not playing football doesn't mean you're not contracting the coronavirus. I mean, just look at the cases nationwide. And I've always said, at least these players are getting tested during their season. They're being quarantined, and they're at least getting the best medical care possible. So anyway, you can go vote on that poll at 96.9 The Game or at The Game Jacks. I want to get into this topic because, obviously this college football season, let's face it, the pandemic had a lot to do with the fact that this season didn't have the buzz or the electricity that seasons have in the past. We've seen it in all sports. The ratings for all the sports are down this season, and down drastically, except for the NFL, of course. It's down, but not down drastically. All right, so Dan Mullen was on this this college football. I don't know what you would call it. It was something ESPN did. Tebow was on it. A lot of the college football analysts were on it, and Dan Mullen was on it. It was down in South Florida yesterday. It was an ESPN type of sort of a bowl special, or a sort of a national championship special before the national championship game. And what they were talking about were ways to improve college football. And I want your ways to improve college football. Mullen had a couple of, he said this, quote, I think that we have to expand the playoffs, and we're going to have to let go of the bowl system. We're going to have to expand the college playoff and let go of the bowl system. But here was one idea he had in place of the bowl system, which I sort of like. I sort of like this. And his idea was, instead of playing a bowl game at the end of the season, why not make the bowls, all right? Why not make the bowls like an exhibition game during the spring? Like he said, why not in April or May? Why doesn't like Florida go down to Miami and play USC in a game, or something like that in an exhibition game? Do you guys like that? I sort of do.
I mean, make it a preseason game.
Make it like instead of having your spring football game, go have a quote unquote bowl game, exhibition game, USC versus Florida, or Nebraska versus Florida State. Just things like that.
Nah, see,
in an exhibition game.
Why I wouldn't like that is because exhibition is synonymous with non-competitive, right? We're just doing an exhibition game.
Yeah, isn't that what bowls are?
Well, but they're at least competitive. I mean, they keep the score, and one team's defensive end is
tell the Gators that.
Yeah, but the other team's defensive end is trying to take your quarterback out, on each and every play. That would be my fear. Is if you're playing preseason games now in college football, and I don't care what label you stick on them. At least in your spring game, you can control contact for the quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of thing. I mean, essentially at this point, you're talking about.
So you would rather have so as a Miami fan, you'd rather have your quarterback knocked out in the bowl game instead of the spring game because that's what happened.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, but
that's a real thing.
Well, but I mean, the idea of playing against some other team in a game that doesn't matter. Miami's playing Alabama, by the way, next year to start the season. The Chick-fil-A. Is that not?
Well, that game matters. That game counts though on the record. The spring / bowl game doesn't count. It's just a fun game. Which again,
nobody's going to watch a game that doesn't count though. I mean, so at that point, I mean, you're asking USC to travel to Miami for a game that nobody is going to watch and or care about.
Well, again, I think people would watch. I mean, a lot of these bowl games don't count really when it comes right down to it. They don't count. The Florida-Oklahoma game didn't count. The Miami, Cheetos Bowl didn't count.
Well, was Florida's final record this year?
Yeah, I understand it.
Yeah,
on the record, it counted, but in people's minds, it doesn't really matter.
Well, unless you win, of course, and then everybody will tell you how much it counted.
Yeah. Well, again,
the SEC in bowl games was this, and this. I mean, they count. They matter more. Oh.
Plus, when you're
somebody told me that the ACC was like 0-6 in bowl games, and I'll go, they didn't count. They didn't count.
Plus, when you play a spring bowl game. You've got your players aren't opting out because they're actually trying to make the team. All right, they're trying to win their starting jobs. So you would have a much more competitive game. You're not going to have the opt outs. It's your upcoming team, not your outgoing team. Again, I think
it's a dumb idea, but the fact that Dan Mullen said it with all the dumb ideas he's had this year, this one doesn't sound so bad, I guess.
I love the idea. I would leave the bowl games to the Coastal Carolinas and the Liberties of the world. That's what I would do. Those are the teams that really get fired up for these bowl games. Let them play in the bowl games. Expand the playoffs to 8 or 16 teams. You can use some of these second-tier bowls for the expanded playoff, and then have your little spring exhibition. I think it would be a great idea. But we want your ideas on how to improve college football. What do you guys think about this idea? Somebody just texted in. You can text them in the 50857. Each Power 5 conference adopts a Group of 5 conference and creates a relegation system.
That's first of all. Go to my Twitter handle, and that is my pinned tweet for like 2.5 years now, which is
verifying this.
Yeah, go to my pinned tweet. It's my #1 tweet, and because I'm an international soccer guy, promotion and relegation.
Oh shoot, it is. October 16th, great day. That's my birthday.
Is that your birthday?
Would that work in college football?
Why wouldn't
that work in
why wouldn't it?
Well, here's why. Because teams are investing so much money in their programs and building these facilities. Nobody's going to show. If Florida's in the American Athletic Conference next season, nobody's going to go to their games.
Well, but what they need to do then is win the American Athletic Conference and get promoted back to the SEC, if that's the case. It happens in international soccer all the time. When you get promoted to the Premier League, you have to expand your stadium to X amount of seats. But then if you get relegated, guess what? That's still your stadium. You're just trying to get back to the Premier League where the television contracts are greater. It rewards competition.
Believe me, I love the idea. I don't think it would ever happen, but I love the idea.
Yeah, no, it gives
Absolutely, I
the UCFs a chance, and I think in mine, I think I matched the ACC up with the American. I can't remember, but it gives
SEC.
with the SEC. So it gives UCF the chance to win the American Athletic Conference, and guess what? That year, I'm sorry, you don't compete for the national championship. But what you've now done is earn the right to go to the SEC, where you've replaced Vanderbilt. Now Vanderbilt drops down because they had the worst record in the SEC. And now you've got a chance to work your way up to compete for the national championship. If you want to keep the national championship for these Power 5 conference schools, then at least give the American Athletic Conference teams a chance to advance to that conference and then therefore compete. And I think it's a great idea. Would love to see it. But it's way too progressive and European for the folks here.
That's way too low.
Don't tread on my sports.
That's right. Yeah.
I would love to see it as well. Text in your ideas, 50857, ways to improve college football. We'll get to a couple of more when we come back. But also when we come back, Bill Belichick tells Donald Trump, I don't want your Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's next on Open Mic.
More Open Mic up next.
Cowardly. Gutless. And wrong.
Oh, it's happening again and again and again. These ding-dong do-it-yourself doorbell security cameras are having major issues again, with one well-known doorbell company recalling 350,000 video doorbells due to fire hazard. This comes in the wake of this same company having to shut down some of their doorbells because people were spying on the customers, right? This is why I have a Safe Touch home security system, which, by the way, comes complete with a professionally installed and monitored doorbell camera. You don't have to worry about Safe Touch's video doorbell starting a fire or getting hacked, and it will stop those porch pirates in their tracks. You know what else? You're not really saving any money with these do-it-yourself alarm systems. You're only putting your family in harm's way. Do-it-yourself alarms are designed to be installed by anyone. And believe me, if I can install it, you know what that means? It's easily bypassed, easily hacked. That leaves your family vulnerable to the creeps and bad guys. So do what the Bulldog did. Go to safetouch.com. That's safetouch.com for a system you can trust at a price you can afford. State license EF233.
96.9 The Game, FM, HD. Online at 969thegame.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app. And on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
From our text line 50857, our spontaneous text question: ways to improve college football moving forward, make conference championship games the bowl games. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. Yeah. It would mean something then, wouldn't they? Yeah. Awesome idea. Although, obviously you would have to up the ante for some of these conferences because they make a bunch of money just on the conference championship games themselves. So again, you're taking away the bowl money, and but again, love the idea. I want a relegation program. Somebody texted in the group of 5. Leave the Power 5 out of it. What does that even mean? Why would you have a relegation system for the group of 5?
Yeah, I mean, who are you promoting? Are you promoting Division I AA teams?
Yeah, who cares?
I mean, because if you're going to have relegation, guess what? You're going to have promotion. It's not just a relegation system. Otherwise, you end up with 0 teams.
Have the bowl game be the first game of the season while there's so much hype. Yeah. But again, you're taking away revenue from the programs themselves. Programs aren't going to agree to have just take away some revenue. You've got to come up with additional ways to have revenue, right?
Yeah. Here's one I was thinking about, Mike, and it sort of kind of combines what we have today, or maybe even goes back. Remember when people earlier this year were asking to return to the BCS? Like, can we go back to the day and age of a computer system? I wouldn't mind some sort of computer generated, hey, here's our top 10. If we all knew what the formula was, if we could all get together and say, here's the formula, we're going strength of conference schedule, right? We're going wins and losses. To me, one of the major factors would have to be this, though. You would have to get extra weighted, extra credit, if you will, for strength of non-conference schedule, because you can't control what conference you're in. You know, the SEC is always going to have that sort of inside track. So if you're an ACC program or a Big Ten program or a Pac-12 program, how do you make up that ground that the SEC is going to have? And it's by out-of-conference scheduling. That when you've got 3 or 4 out-of-conference games, you better not schedule Tennessee, Chattanooga, Eastwich. You know, you better be scheduling the other Power 5 conference teams. And if you do that, then that is kind of weighted as at a 1.5 evaluation, and so you get extra credit in those non-conference games if you schedule out. Now the SEC can do that as well if they so choose, but it allows them to, sort of the conferences that don't get the benefit of the SEC doubt in the preseason to sort of make up that ground to get into the playoffs. So some sort of computer formula that we all know, we can all wrap our brains around. It's not like a surprise at the end of the year why a team's ranked in front of you. You can actually do the math yourself at home and figure it out.
Open communication?
Yeah, no, I would love that. Some transparency.
That.
That'd be nice. That would be nice.
David Pollack of ESPN, he asked during this ESPN thing I was talking about that Dan Mullen was on, he asked Dan Mullen about an idea where he said you eliminate the conference divisions, all right? And this is sort of what you're getting to, Adam. You eliminate the conference divisions, you play 8 league games, and then you play 1 team from each of the other Power 5 conferences for a total of 12 regular season games. That would sort of accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Increase the strength of schedule, play other big time teams in your non-conference games, and then of course you would expand the playoffs to either 8 teams or 16 teams, and then you could go by your formula. I like that idea. The other idea I love is Mark Daniels' idea. He's been harping on this. like the college football national championship game last night. Didn't that sort of get lost in the shuffle over the weekend? I mean, there was no hype or build-up for the game because of all the NFL games. The NFL, as we know, is the king of all sports, the king of all televised sports. Like yesterday, we barely spent any time talking about the national championship game because we were talking about the NFL playoff games over the weekend. Mark Daniels says, move up the schedule a little bit, all right, and have your national title game on the night of New Year on New Year's Day. The night of New Year's Day. Have your bowl games New Year's Day, and then have your national title game at the end of the day. And that way it has a forum all its own. There's a bunch of buildup for it, and you don't have to get mixed up into the NFL playoffs, right?
Mike, for me growing up, and I'm sure for you, but man, New Year's Day was the day for college football growing up. That was, I mean, you couldn't wait because you're going to watch the Rose Bowl parade, and you were going to see the Rose Bowl, and you were going to see the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta
Bowl at night. Yeah.
You got all that, and that is what you grew up with. I love the idea that to give that New Year's night back to college football. That is the night that college football says this is our day. Everybody gather around the television nostalgically because he's right. I mean, I got to really check my calendar. What's the second or third Monday in January? Because that's the national championship game. How fantastic would it be on a day that everybody has off, for the most part, essentially, that we knew that was going to be the day we were going to watch a college football champion crowned, like we did every day, for me at least, growing up. It was fantastic.
Yeah, when you watch Nebraska and Miami play in the Orange Bowl for the national championship on New Year's Day night, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, and plus, the major, forget about giving New Year's Day back to college football. That's great for all of us traditionalists. But just get the college football national championship game away from the NFL playoffs. Good Lord, the NFL playoffs are an attention magnet. They suck every bit of attention out of the college football national championship game, in my opinion. So,
there's no question. I mean, all of our attention yesterday was like on Baker Mayfield, and then the matchup. We literally talk more about the matchups coming up next Saturday and Sunday than the matchup we could have been talking about last night. We talked about the matchups coming up a week away in the NFL playoffs versus the matchup which would have been tonight, it would have been last night, had we been discussing it more often. But you're right. The NFL casts such a large sports shadow that the college football national championship game was caught up in that.
Absolutely it was. All right, let's pause right now for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, the home of Orlando City Soccer Club.
What you reading there, honey?
It's very exciting stuff, you see. It's the front page of the internet.
Here we go with the front page of the internet this morning. Funny you guys should mention that, especially talking about Baker Mayfield and stuff. The #1 video on YouTube's trending page today is Browns versus Steelers Super Wildcard Weekend highlights. 4.1 million views. You know what's not on YouTube's trending page? The National Championship highlights. Interesting. How about that? Also on YouTube's trending page is Lana Del Rey's song Chemtrails Over the Country Club, the official video. It looks vintage, and if you're a fan of Lana Del Rey, you should check it out. It has 2 million views in 16 hours. Happy birthday today to radio host extraordinaire Howard Stern.
Hey.
How old is Howard Stern
Howard
today?
Stern. He's got to be 69.
Nice.
He's 70.
He's 67.
Oh.
Not quite that old yet, guys, but man. Anyway, I'm not going to comment on his looks. Why would I? That would be absurd. Anyway, trending over on Twitter and Reddit and everywhere, it's more political stuff we've talked about, but there is an updated list on all of the apps that President Trump has been banned from. This includes Facebook, Twitter, Google, like having a Google account, apparently.
What?
Yeah. Spotify.
You can't Google President Trump now?
You can Google him, but he can't have his own Google account.
He's been trying to leave like reviews and stuff, his Google reviews.
Yeah.
This is huge.
So Spotify, he's also banned from, which includes podcasts and whatnot. Snapchat, Instagram, Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, which is funny because the app he tried to ban banned him first. That's funny.
Wow.
Pinterest and Shopify. He got banned from
Pinterest.
Can't shop?
He can't shop, and he cannot sell his own merchandise on Shopify either. So that's the updated list on that. Trending on TikTok. I want to get to this because this is kind of weird. So there is you always find yourself on a side of TikTok. That's the lingo. You're on fitness TikTok. You're on sports TikTok. Well, now there's a side of TikTok that is blowing up into the mainstream called sea shanty TikTok, where people start off by singing a classic sea shanty, and then people add on to it to make the harmonies. I'm going to give you an example. This is the Wellerman, and it was duetted 4 times. So these people have never met each other, and they just started adding on to this song.
Wait, do you make up your own lyrics, or you have to add like the actual?
So this is a real sea shanty, one that is popular among sea shanty lovers.
Claire's?
Yes. And so this is adding all the different harmonies to it. Take a listen.
Ship that put to sea, the name of the ship was a belly of tea. The winds blew up her bow, dipped down below, my billy boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
So it goes on, but it's interesting because all of these people are just adding on to already created videos by adding bass and adding tenor notes and adding all this sort of stuff. It's an incredible thing that's going on TikTok, and I'm excited for it.
Oh my God! Please let Sea Shanty Twitter or TikTok.
Sea Shanty TikTok. That's what's trending today on the front page of the internet.
Oh my God!
Wow. All right, we were just talking about President Trump and how he's been banned from all these social media networks. He's also been banned, I guess, by the PGA of America. They are not going to play the 2022 PGA Championship. It was originally scheduled to be in New York at Trump National Golf Club, but they have changed their venue now. I don't know if they've actually got a new venue yet, but they are looking for a new venue, according to Jim Richardson, president of PGA of America, in a statement on Sunday. Quote, "We find ourselves in a political situation not of our making. It has become clear that conducting the PGA Championship at Trump Bedminster, which is the name of the course, would be detrimental to the PGA of America brand, blah, 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 blah." So the PGA Championship not being played at Trump's golf course. And yesterday, New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick said he will not move forward with the Presidential Medal of Freedom that Donald Trump had planned to present to him this Thursday. Belichick explained his decision in a statement, quote, "Recently, I was offered the opportunity to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which I was flattered by out of respect for what the honor represents and admiration for prior recipients. Subsequently, the tragic events of last week occurred, and the decision has been made not to move forward with the award. Above all, I am an American citizen with great reverence for our nation's values, freedom, and democracy. I know I also represent my family and the New England Patriots team. One of the most rewarding things in my professional career took place in 2020 when through the great leadership within our team, conversations about social justice, equality, and human rights moved to the forefront and became actions. Continuing those efforts while remaining true to the people, team, and country I love outweigh the benefits of any individual award. End quote. Translation. My players and fans would hate me if I went up and got all cozy with Donald Trump. I mean,
I think you nailed that translation.
See, let me ask you a question. Do you think that even for a guy that has been, not an anti-Trump guy, do you think that maybe
no, he's been a Trump guy?
Right.
He's a friend of Donald Trump,
right?
Yeah.
But do you think that even for a friend of Donald Trump, that the actions of last week and the magnitude of what happened, that even those people go, okay, that was there was my line. Like when you're encouraging people to, do.
Yeah. And again, I was being somewhat facetious with my translation, but obviously, I think the fact that at least everybody I know is outraged by what happened last week. I just think, whether you believe it or not, whether you believe, what Bill Belichick said, whether you believe that or not, yes, I think he was probably disgusted with what happened as well last week. So I'm going to give certainly. I'm going to say that. I mean, hell, Betsy DeVos, who was she's as conservative as you can get. Betsy DeVos, part of the Orlando Magic ownership group. A lot of people don't like Betsy DeVos because they say she's too conservative. They don't like her philosophy on education. What is she for? Charter schools? Yeah, I believe. So she resigned last week. So people are withdrawing and they don't want to be associated with Donald Trump right now. I mean, obviously, Austin just read what happened on social media with all these social media networks. A lot of people. I mean, these are conservative groups as well. The PGA Tour of America, golf is a very, very conservative sport with a conservative fan base, and they are distancing themselves from Donald Trump.
I mean, even
the New England Patriots are a very, very conservative organization. Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, friends of Donald Trump, they are distancing themselves from the president. So, yeah, last week, that was the final straw for a lot of people. It really was. What were you going to say, Austin?
Even anecdotally about just driving around. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I don't see the giant trucks with the big Trump 2020 flags driving around. I don't see the Trump Pence signs as much as I have. I just don't see it anymore as I drive around. And those were things that stuck out like a sore thumb to me. As like, okay, the election's over, but you still got this stuff out. People have taken their stuff down.
Yeah. And again, what happened last week was sad. It was disgusting. It was obviously unfortunate. And now the ramifications come. I mean, everybody is distancing themselves from the president. He'll be out of office maybe sooner, but at least by January 20th. So we'll see what happens with all this impeachment stuff, but we're not going to get into that. Give us a call, 407-916-8255. I want to get Adam's thoughts on this real quick. So the latest college football induction ceremony, I'm sorry, the Hall of Fame, they haven't been inducted, but it was announced yesterday, the latest class, all right? I won't go through all the names on it. Bob Stoops is one of the biggest names on it. Howard Schnellenberger just cannot get into the College Football Hall of Fame. Isn't that sad?
Is he not in? Come on now. He's got to be in.
No, he's not in because there's some stipulation about winning percentage. And because Howard Schnellenberger took over a bunch of downtrodden programs throughout his career, including the University of Miami and Louisville and FAU, he doesn't have the winning percentage to get in.
That's amazing. I mean, because being a Miami fan, you know how important Howard Schnellenberger is. I mean, he's the birth essentially of the Miami football program that people speak of nostalgically. You know, I mean, when they're talking about the U is finally back. the first guy who brought the U there was Howard Schnellenberger. So the fact that he's not in is unbelievable. The Miami Hurricane did get in. That was Dan Morgan, the great linebacker from the University of Miami.
If Dan Morgan's in,
that's right.
I got Howard Schnellenberger out of BS.
I honestly, Mike, when you were saying, I go, God, he's got to be wrong. I mean, he's got to. But the contributions that guy's made to the sport of college football. But put him in the same group as Butch Davis. Sort of, hey, listen, when you got a really good college job, those professional jobs, I know they can pay a little bit more at the time, but imagine if you just stick around a really good college football job for 20 years instead. He took the USFL job.
Oh, God. Howard Schnellenberger had one of the worst career moves of all time when he left Miami for the USFL, and then the USFL folded before he ever coached a game. He didn't get any money from it. And if he'd have stayed at Miami, and I once asked him about this, if he'd have stayed at Miami, he might have passed Bear Bryant's national championship records instead of Nick Saban.
Mike, I will go to my deathbed believing this. Is that if Butch Davis doesn't leave the University of Miami after the 2000 season for the Cleveland Browns job, and he decides, listen, I'm just going to be the head football coach at Miami. I'm going to make $2 million a year. I'm going to kiss and make up with Paul D and everything. That what Alabama has done over the last 20 years, Miami would have done. In my mind, I truly believe he was such a great recruiter. You look at what the talent he assembled on his staff. Like what Nick Saban's done. I will go to my grave believing that when I say it out loud. But you never know, because guys end up taking these pro jobs, and then after 5 years, the NFL chews you up and spits you out, and then you gotta try to find another job that isn't as good as the one you had before.
Absolutely. All right, straight ahead, it's the Sound Off, where we will hear the notable notes and quotable quotes from the newsmakers throughout sports. But first, your chance at $1,000.
on FM 96.9 The Game.
That is the sound off music. That means it's time to hear from the hottest newsmakers in all of sports. What do we have, Austin Pistolka?
Sound off! Sound off! I'm just happy that we won tonight. And I really haven't thought about that because you're always looking forward. And I just love this team so much and what they've been able to do. I can't even put it into words.
We start off with head coach of the Alabama Rolling Tide. I've never actually said that sentence out loud.
Rolling Tide?
Who are they?
The Crimson
Tide. Whatever the hell they are. They're national champions. And he's been a national champion 7 times. He says last night, I didn't think about how many times I've won it. I only thought about it last night. He is definitely, unconsequentially, the greatest coach in college football history. Isn't that right, Mike?
Well, yeah, he didn't need to win last night to surpass Bear Bryant with 7 national championships. Hell, he was the greatest coach in college football history when he won 4 or 5 national championships because of the reasons we talked about earlier. It's so much harder in today's world to win national championships because you have so many more programs able to win national championships now than you could back in the day when Bear Bryant was at Alabama in the 60s and the 70s, and it was essentially Alabama dominating the SEC. You didn't have your Floridas or your Auburns even that were able to win national championships back then. Now you do. I mean, you've had multiple SEC teams in recent years. Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, LSU win national championships. Back in Bear Bryant's day, he dominated the SEC like nobody else. And so, again, Nick Saban was the greatest coach when he won 5 or 6 national titles.
Sound off! Sound off!
It's going to motivate me a lot, you know. We didn't get the turnout that we wanted to. We didn't get the result that we wanted, but that's just going to make us work harder. You know, this team deals with that adversity very well. We've been through a lot of adversity this past year, so I think we're just going to use it as fuel to just get back in the offseason and just work our butts off for real. So,
Justin Fields, quarterback of Ohio State. That's a weird comment. Like, he's not coming back next year, I don't think.
Well, I mean, you know, what's weird is that I've never really thought about it, but I mean, has Justin Fields said, "Hey, listen, I'm leaving for the NFL"?
I don't think he has. I guess.
And he's not. I mean, he didn't use that opportunity to go. Listen, I need to reevaluate where I'm at, and maybe look into the future a little bit. That sounds like a guy who literally plans on being back and playing college football next year.
Ooh. Did he say it will motivate us or it will motivate me?
He said it will motivate me.
Okay, well maybe it'll motivate him at the next level.
Man, that was.
Play it again real quick.
Yeah, because that's.
It's going to motivate me a lot, you know. We didn't get the turnout that we wanted to. We didn't get the result that we wanted, but that's just going to make us work harder.
Us.
You know,
Well, he said us once, but he said me.
No, he's going to motivate me. Yeah, me, and then I'm going to be the leader of this team, and that's going to work. Yeah. We are going to work harder.
Well, he could. I mean, he's still, even when he goes to the NFL, which he will. All right. Well, even when he goes to the NFL, he still considers Ohio State us. I think that's what he's saying.
I don't know.
He's still a Buckeye. Once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. All of that stuff.
That sounds like a guy who is ready to get motivated again after a postseason loss and look to win the whole thing.
Think about it. We spent too much time on this, but Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones aren't going to be the quarterbacks for their respective teams coming up. So Justin Fields, another chance at a Heisman.
No, he's going to get motivated. Get motivated to get your ass kicked by Alabama again next year? No thanks.
Alabama's going to start the year 0-1 next year.
There you go.
I think it depends when you play them. You know, if it's September and October, a lot of things change in a season. Players are in, players are out, injuries of all those type of things. It comes down to one-on-one battles of guys that know each other. Who's going to make those game-changing plays in this game?
Bruce Arians, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, talking about playing a team 3 times, which the Buccaneers will be doing against the Saints this upcoming week. Man, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season. Are the Buccaneers due?
Yeah, they're due, but again, this is a Saints team that is one of the most complete teams in the NFL. What I love is the fact that both of these teams are pretty much going to be at full strength. The Saints are going to have Michael Thomas back. He's been injured for much of the season. The Bucs have Mike Evans. He played last week. Antonio Brown has been integrated in the offense. Leonard Fournette looked really good last week. So this is going to be a completely different game, I think, because both teams obviously are motivated. It's the playoffs, but both teams are going to be at full strength, and I am looking forward to it.
Sound off. A bad loss, but Browns are going to get clapped next week, so it's all good.
That is Chase Claypool, the TikTok star, sticking his foot in his mouth on his TikTok, saying the Browns are going to get clapped next week. Adam, what do you think?
That's so stupid. I mean, look, it's a bad loss. End it there. To sort of pound your chest for one split second that some other team may be able to beat a team that you weren't able to beat at home is like the most. I don't even want to be an old guy here. I do not. Claypool is forcing me to sound like an old guy. That is such a young kid's take. Oh, it's a bad loss for us. Is that okay? Because they're going to lose next week anyway. Oh yeah. That's not for you to say anymore, okay? That's not because you had the chance to have them lose this week and you couldn't do it. So, listen, tip your cap. As a competitor, listen, it was a tough loss. We lost. They were the better team that day. Wish them the best of luck. They're going to get clapped next week. Okay. Whatever.
What an old guy boomer you are.
I know. Well, I hate that. I hate to even feel that way. But that was such a stupid take.
Sound off.
They're totally different than the way we had played the first 3 quarters. And you can't give possessions away against elite teams like that. And it's disappointing, frustrating, because we were right there. We were right there where we needed to be. And we played in a totally different mentality in the beginning of the fourth quarter than we had for the first 3.
All right, Mike, this one's got to be kind of quick. That is head coach Steve Clifford of the Orlando Magic talking about how they were in it. They were in it for the first 3, but weren't able to get it done in the fourth. Mike, this team has to play perfect for 4 quarters to beat anybody, don't they?
I'm going to use what you just said as a tease.
Ooh.
To go into next segment where the Magic, yes, they lost yet again, this time to the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll get into that next on Open Mic.
Whether you're drinking your morning coffee or sipping on a seltzer,
ain't no laws when you're drinking clogs.
You're listening to Open Mic.
The COVID cases are spiking again. Is this thing ever going to end? If you are an employer and looking for peace of mind in this COVID-19 era, Healthy Cells Wellness, remember that name. They are a trusted advocate for employers to provide COVID-19 and COVID antibody testing in a calm, organized environment at your work site. That's right. They come to you. Doesn't matter if you're in Orlando, Jacksonville, around the state, across the country. They come to you. All right. No more waiting in line with other people. If you act now, your insurance company could reimburse you for the total cost of these tests. Also, act now. Mention my name, Bianchi. Get a free COVID-19 test. You can find them at healthycellswellness.com. That's healthycellswellness.com.
We are FM 96.9 The Game, the home of the Orlando Magic.
We were just talking about the Orlando Magic and what happened to them last night. They looked really good for a while, but then they couldn't maintain it. They go down last night 121-99 to MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Do we have the highlights from the game last night?
Portis shooting it high off the glass. What an effort tonight by Bobby Portis Jr. 15 in the game off their bench. Gordon penetrating it, hammers it down over the top of Antetokounmpo. Three-point shot, Giannis. Got it. That's a big shot by Antetokounmpo. His second three tonight. Antetokounmpo driving it in, pitching it out to Portis for three. 2 threes back-to-back by Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis. And Milwaukee has an 8-point cushion again.
We were right there. We were right there where we needed to be, and we played in a totally different mentality in the beginning of the fourth quarter than we had for the first three.
Okay, that was Steve Clifford of the Orlando Magic, the head coach. And again, the Magic are shorthanded. They're injury-plagued. This season that began with so much excitement. The Magic started out 4-0 this year, and now they are 6-5. They've lost 3 in a row. They have to go back on the road now. A 2-game set coming up with Boston. Again, this season has been already hijacked by injuries. I mean, forget Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, who both have blown out their knees and aren't going to play this season. Markelle Fultz, of course, was the big injury last week. Jonathan Isaac blew out his knee in the bubble during the playoffs a few months ago. Evan Fournier, he hasn't played in 5 games. Chuma Okeke, he's still out with the bone bruise on his knee. Al-Farouq Amino, Michael Carter-Williams. Go down the list. I mean, this team, unless it can get relatively healthy, again, Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, those guys are gone. But they got to get Fournier back. They have to get Chuma Okeke back. They need everybody, all hands on deck. Mo Bamba, there was a Mo Bamba sighting again last night. He played, can somebody call up the box score? I think he played like 10 or 11 minutes, had a couple of buckets.
He had a hell of a block, too, that led to an Aaron Gordon slam.
Yeah, had a couple of blocks, so that's a plus that Mo Bamba is at least back in the lineup. Of course, he has to play more than 10 or 11 minutes, especially with this team. We're going to have Jeff Weltman, the Magic's president of basketball operations. He's going to join us during our Magic Minute at 8:15 this morning. I'm sorry, the magic word we're calling it, right? The magic word.
What's the magic word?
Yes, the magic word will come from Jeff Weltman at 8:15 a.m. this morning. But again, how Steve Clifford? I mean, Steve Clifford is a hell of a coach. But how do you coach a team where, again, you've got your 2 brightest young stars out, Evan Fournier, who's probably, I mean, besides Vooch, Evan Fournier is your best pure scorer. He's out. Chuma, your bench guys, Chuma Okeke and Al-Farouq Amino, they're out. I don't even know. If I'm Steve Clifford, I don't know how you can coach and be expected to win with a team this shorthanded. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to look at your schedule and hope to guys see a lot more, Cleveland's on there than Milwaukee's. That's for sure.
Yeah. So again, this is this season not turning out like we wanted it to for the Orlando Magic. Hopefully, they can get at least some reinforcements coming back. We'll ask Jeff Weltman what's going on with the health of some of these players. And speaking of the NBA, man, they are going through some COVID issues as well. They've had How many games were canceled yesterday? I think there were 2 games called off yesterday because of COVID. The Mavericks and the Pelicans was called off, as well as the Bulls and the Boston Celtics. That comes in the wake of the Miami-Boston game being called off. So, again, I'm starting to wonder. Obviously, the NBA played in the bubble, finished out its regular season in the bubble last year. No bubble this year. Do you guys think that they're going to be able to finish the season without pausing? Because I sort of do, because, hell, college football did, right? If college football can do it, why can't I realize the rosters are smaller.
That and college football plays 1 game a week, and some of these NBA.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying that they won't have games postponed. I'm saying, will they have to just pause the entire season at some point? Now, obviously, they're going to have games postponed because that's happened already. I'm talking about, okay, guys, we're going to take a couple of weeks off the entire league while we get this thing back in order.
I wouldn't be surprised if we, again, it's not because you look nationally, it's not like our numbers are like sort of slowly decreasing. No. They're increasing, as a matter of fact. I wouldn't be shocked if, and at least for the NBA, they can always go, hey, listen, we know what to do in this situation. We got to go to a bubble, and that's how we got to sort this thing out. I can't imagine we're going to get through an entire regular season, an entire playoffs, with home games and stuff like. I just don't envision that happening. But the good news for the NBA is they've been there, done that. They know how to make this thing work in a situation like a bubble. And I would suspect that if we complete another NBA season, it'll be in a bubble at some point during it.
At some point, though, and we'll ask Jeff Weltman about this, all right? There are some teams like the Sixers a few nights ago, they only had 8 players available, and Doc Rivers didn't really want to play with 8 players available. I guess that's the minimum number that you can have available. Why don't they increase their rosters a little bit? Can they do that? Why not bring
and pay more people?
League?
Yeah,
pay more people.
Well, okay, but you do have a G League team. Bring those guys over and let them.
They got to sign. They got to sign NBA contracts. They can't just go like, "Hey, we're pulling up the G League guys and we're paying you G League money."
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
What do you mean, why not? Because they're now NBA players.
Because they now become NBA. They got to sign like a 10-day NBA contract.
Okay, well then have a couple of those available.
Yeah.
Isn't that better than canceling the games and canceling the you lose all the TV revenue and the
right now they haven't canceled any games. They're only postponing games. So if that could be the difference between a win and a loss, and for some of these teams that could be the difference between the playoffs or not making the playoffs. So at the moment, if you can just postpone games and not have to bring up the scrubs, then yeah, that's the choice that they should make.
Well, yeah, I'd rather have scrubs than play with 8 guys. I mean, good Lord. You'd at least rather have some players available where you could give guys a rest.
I don't know why just a random, he pulled his hamstring in practice. He's inactive. We only have 7, can't do the game.
Yeah, but again, here's why I think we're going to get to the bubble sooner rather than later, is because in the bubble, I mean, for the most part, that worked from keeping guys from getting COVID. Now you got a bunch of players, and you got to ask, can we make it work with them again?
Yeah, but they did that for 7 regular season games. You can't do it for 60 regular season games and have them in there for 6 months in the bubble.
That would be rough.
Again.
No. I think
Playoffs?
at some point you're gonna have to reevaluate this thing moving forward. This is just. I mean, with the travel and with the contact and with, the fact that they're normal human beings and want to do things elsewhere, I just can't envision, with so many games and so much travel for, this season to be played with any sense of real normalcy. Because what are we? 10 games?
There's definitely not going to be normalcy. But again, if they were to increase the rosters a little bit, I think they could probably get through. But we shall see what happens. All right, straight ahead, We are going to get back into the national championship game. Adam Shadoff, Fox 35, is going to join us. We'll ask him, is Nick Saban now officially the GOAT of college football? And what hope does the rest of the SEC have as long as Saban's the coach? That's next on Open Mic.
Open Mic. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Who has the best radio show in town? Come on, Nick. Tell us.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Come on, Nick. You could say Open Mic, just like we say Nick Saban has the best college football team out there. You know who has the best home security company out there? My good friends at Safe Touch. You know, these ding-dong do-it-yourself doorbell cameras are having major issues once again, with one well-known doorbell company recalling 350,000 video doorbells due to fire hazard. This is the same company, by the way, that was caught hacking and spying on you, all right? The customer. This is why I have a Safe Touch home security system, which comes complete with a professionally installed and monitored doorbell camera. You don't have to worry about Safe Touch's video doorbell starting a fire or getting hacked, and it will stop the porch pirates in their tracks. You know what else? You're not really saving any money with these do-it-yourself alarm systems. You're only putting your family in harm's way. How is that? Because do-it-yourself alarms are designed to be installed by anyone. They're not verified. They're not monitored by local police. If I can install something, that means it's easily hacked and easily bypassed. That leaves your family vulnerable to the creeps and the bad guys. So do what the Bulldog did. Go to safetouch.com, safetouch.com. Get a system you can trust at a price you can afford. State license EF233.
This
Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos, an iHeart radio station.
Time to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Welcome back to Open Mic. I am Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel. Joined in studio, as always, by Adam Reardon, the Deceptive Intellect, and, of course, Austin Pastolka, the Sultan of Sound. Yeah. Together, we are Open Mic Orlando and Jacksonville's most excellent sports talk radio show. And we're getting ready to be on in other markets as well. You want to know why? Actually, we are on in other markets via the web, via the stream. You not only can listen to us in so many ways, you can also watch us on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube. You can go to the Open Mic Live or search for the Open Mic live stream on YouTube. You can watch us. You can see what Adam Reardon looks like. You can see what Austin Pastolka looks like. And, of course, you can see the Bulldog. So sweet and so purty right here.
Come check out the stash.
Yeah. All right, we have your next chance to win $1,000. That's coming up at 8:10 a.m. this morning. Make an appointment for that. Jeff Weltman, Magic President of Basketball Operations, will join us for our Magic Word segment at 8:15 a.m. this morning. Adam Shadow, Fox 35 sports anchor, will join us momentarily as we break down the national championship game last night. Alabama, of course, won its sixth national title in the last 12 years under Nick Saban by routing the Ohio State Buckeyes 52-24 last night. Here's Eli Gold, the legendary Alabama radio voice, telling us all about it.
Play action. Mack looks, floats it out, left side. Devontae angles for the corner of the end zone. He is in. Touchdown, Alabama. Alabama on a second down play. Mack looks wide open, left side. Najee out of the backfield, makes the grab at the 10. Cuts inside the defense. He'll fire forward. He's got a touchdown. Mack straight drop. Mack looks long. Mack finds Devontae behind the defense. He is in for a touchdown. Thank you, Mr. Heisman. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, Unitas Award winner. What a combination. That is it. The final score, Bama 52, Ohio State 24. Alabama does it. 10 regular season SEC wins. An SEC championship, a Rose Bowl championship, and national championship number 18.
Well, to me, this is the ultimate team. All these guys bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently.
That's the great Nick Saban, who now has 7 overall national championships, 6 at Alabama, 1 at LSU. That broke a tie with Alabama icon Paul Bear Bryant for the most national titles by a major college coach. Here was Nick Saban talking about Bear Bryant last night.
Well, I don't think anybody really compared to Coach Bryant. In the era that he coached and the era that he won, he won a lot of different ways. He won throwing it, he won running a wishbone, he won it running conventional, offensive formations, and his legacy lasted, over a long, long period of time.
Well, Nick Saban's legacy is going to last over a long, long period of time as well. He is the greatest college football coach of all time. I think we've all agreed on that earlier today. Adam certainly agreed. Austin agreed, although he tried to throw in Tom Osborne, which was ridiculous.
I got to throw it in a little bit, but I mean, for sure, Nick Saban's number one.
Devontae Smith, wow, unbelievable last night. This guy won the Heisman Trophy. He got my vote. He had 12 catches for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half last night. Didn't even play hardly in the second half. He went out with an injury, never came back in. He came back onto the sideline with his hand taped up. As I said earlier, and Austin was just telling me this, a lot of Texas fans are celebrating Alabama's national championship, of course, because their new coach is Steve Sarkisian, the Alabama offensive coordinator. And I lauded him earlier this morning because he came up with some schemes that just had Ohio State's defense. They didn't know what was hitting him. Devontae Smith was guarded by a linebacker a couple of times, and he just blew by those guys. And Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback, 36 of 45, college football championship record, 464 yards and 5 touchdowns. Najee Harris, the running back for Alabama, he had 158 yards from scrimmage. Even though I picked Ohio State to win this game, I'm so glad Alabama won. I did not want Ohio State to win the national championship by playing only 8 games. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not saying Ohio State was going to win this game anyways, but if Trey Sermon, their star running back, doesn't go out in the first series with an injury, Ohio State may have been in this game. They would have been in this game. I'll say it right now. They would have been in this game, Adam Reardon.
I look at, they were in this game early, but you're right. When you miss the guy who's been your most explosive running back, I looked at the numbers, and Ohio State ended up averaging 5 yards a carry. So they were able to run it, but you get to a certain point where you're so far behind because Alabama's offense was just doing whatever it wanted to your defense that you have to abandon the run. That's the biggest problem Ohio State had in the game was their defensive plan, which was to play in a 4-4, which meant that you had linebackers on the football field trying to cover the guy who had the greatest season any receiver's ever had in college football. Yeah, of course he had 12 catches for 3 touchdowns and what do you have, 200 yards receiving?
215.
250. Yeah, because he had a linebacker trying to chase him around the football field. I've yet to see somebody try that. And then after last night's performance, I would say this, that if you're a defensive coach in the world of college football and you have to game plan for the Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver on the other team, the idea of marking him with a linebacker is a poor one. That is a terrible plan defensively for you. Ohio State tried it, and it clearly didn't work. Imagine if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, and imagine had Ohio State been able to sort of keep track with Alabama. That guy could have had 22 catches for 400 yards in a game had they had needed him and had he not gotten banged up. But that's how bad Ohio State's plan defensively was against Alabama. Now, again, you have to pick your poison, but they really didn't stop anything, to be honest with you.
You said, back to Trey Sermon real quick. You said that, hey, Ohio State averaged 5 yards a carry, which, okay, that's okay. But Trey Sermon in his last 2 games, right, the Big Ten championship game, 29 carries, 331 yards, 11.4 average. And then in the Sugar Bowl, the rout of Clemson, 31 carries, 193 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. This guy's a game breaker, and they didn't have their game-breaking running back in there. So I'm going to give Ohio State a little bit of a pass because he went down with the injury early in the game. But even with him, they're probably not going to be able to keep up with Alabama. All right, let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, W245CL Deltona. This is FM 96.9 The Game.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
It's TV time on Open Mic.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Let's hear from Fox 35's own Adam Shadoff.
Fox 35 in the Fox 35 Sports Zone. Adam Shadoff anchors that every weeknight about 11:30 p.m. They take a deep dive into all the sports happenings around the country, across the state, and right here in Central Florida. Adam Shadoff, the only reason I was glad that turned into a blowout last night is I was able to go to bed early.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, I wish I could have gone to bed early.
You had to do the news last night, didn't you?
Yeah, I did the news. I mean, the game was still going on when I was doing my sports segment.
Yeah. Your thoughts on just Alabama's dominance? I'm at 6 of the last 12 national championships. Nick Saban takes over as the winningest coach of national championships in the history of college football. Here's my one question before we get into the Shadoff shout-out, all right? As long as Nick Saban is the coach at Alabama, is the rest of the SEC, are they just playing for second place?
It just feels like it. I mean, it feels like complete dominance, and he recruits the best guys and gets the most money and has the best facilities and has the mindset to continue doing this for as long as he wants to. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a point where he gets too old and he won't be able to compete anymore. And I don't know whether or not he's going to be one of those guys that hangs it up when he should or wants to just keep going because he's so competitive. But it feels like, yeah, it's Alabama for the near future, and then it's everyone else.
Yeah, Bear Bryant retired at the age of 69. Saban just turned 69 in October, and he shows no signs of retiring or stopping or slowing down or anything like that. So, all right, let's do a little shout-out with Shadoff, shall we?
Shout it out from the rooftop. Woo-hoo! It's time for the Shadoff Shout-Out.
All right, the Shadoff Shout-Out this week brought to you by Frank Gay Services. When you have a plumbing or electrical problem, you need help now, go to frankgayservices.com. Remember, you can vote on all these topics on Twitter at 969thegame or at thegamejacks. We will start off with the thought-provoking daily poll. Now that the pandemic-plagued college football season is over, was it worth it? Yes or no? Adam.
Well, yeah, it was worth it for me to have something to report on. So selfishly, and actually as a fan, selfishly also, yeah, it was great to have and to do. And I guess, we didn't have any, I can't really think of any very devastating, problems that we had with any kids getting terribly sick or anything like that. So, I mean, yeah, I guess we did okay, and it was worth it.
I think it was well worth it. Obviously, all the distractions and disruptions and postponed games that took away from the season, but still, we had a season, and you're right. We didn't have any major incidents with kids getting sick, and guess what? Even if you didn't play college football this season, like UConn did not, they had a bunch of players come down with COVID as well. So it's not like these players were being put in any sort of jeopardy just because they were playing college football.
77% of the vote says yes, it was worth it. Open Mic Supplemental Poll number 1. After winning his 7th national title and surpassing Bear Bryant, is Nick Saban now officially the greatest college football coach of all time? Yes or no? Mike?
No. He was already the greatest college football coach of all time. He didn't need this 7th national title to do that. I mean, Nick, when Nick Saban had 5 national titles, he was the greatest college football coach of all time. Why? Because it's so much harder to win national titles in today's world than it was back when Bear Bryant was coaching in the 60s and 70s. There are so many more programs in football and in basketball right now capable of winning national titles now than there were 50 years ago. So absolutely, Nick Saban is the greatest and was the greatest even before last night.
Yeah, I agree. It's so much more difficult now. There's so many more teams, period. There's so much more money. There's so much more media interest. Like back when Bear Bryant was there was legitimately maybe about 10 teams that could win the national title, honestly, and they just voted on it. Now it's just so much harder with recruiting and everything. Nick Saban's the greatest of all time. It's really impressive.
And let's not forget, they also had scholarship. They didn't have scholarship limitations when Bear Bryant was coaching, so he'd have like 200 players on scholarship.
With 90% of the vote, yes, he is the greatest college coach of all time. Supplemental poll number 2, is Bill Belichick making the right decision by not going to the White House this week to accept a Presidential Medal of Freedom from Donald Trump? Yes or no, Adam?
Okay, so this is tricky in my position, but here's what I'll say about this. It is fine for Donald Trump to have given this award to Annika Sorenstam and Gary Player and Bill Belichick. It is fine if they were to accept it, but now is not the time. It's the timing that I don't think anyone will ever argue with. You just cannot accept it a day after an insurrection at the Capitol building. So maybe if they wanted to do it later or he accepts by mail, which takes some of the specialness out of it, that's one thing, but you just can't do it because of the timing.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. The timing is awful right now. What happened last week at the White House, a lot of people, including a lot of Republicans, are blaming Donald Trump for it. And these are conservative organizations that are blaming Donald Trump. The PGA of America pulled the PGA Championship off of Donald Trump's golf course. Golf is a very conservative sport. They are distancing themselves from Donald Trump. Bill Belichick is a friend of Donald Trump. Robert Kraft is a friend of Donald Trump. They are distancing themselves from the president. And you know what? I don't blame them, because their players and their fans would not think kindly if Belichick's at the White House cozying up to Donald Trump right now.
79% of the vote says yes, he is making the right decision. Supplemental poll number 3, will the NBA be able to finish its season without having to pause and restart due to a plethora of COVID cases? Yes or no, Mike?
They're gonna have to cancel games and postpone games. They're already doing that. But I don't think that they're going to have to pause for a length of time. I do think it would help if they would expand their rosters a little bit, because we'll ask Jeff Weltman about that at 8:15. But yes, I think they will be able to complete the season, because I think the NBA is very smart, and I think the players are well paid, and they're going to be as careful as possible.
So I guess I heard Adam Silver say that they anticipated this, and they built in time for postponed games to be replayed so that it's fair for everyone else, because of course they did. They're the NBA. They're smart. They run things really well and correctly. So yeah, I think they're going to get through the season. Also, I think there's going to be more of these postponements. And the problem really is contact tracing, is that they get one positive on a team, and then they have to sit a bunch of guys while they contact trace them whether or not they test positive. But yes, I think they're going to end up in one way or another finishing out the regular season.
With 55% of the vote, no wins this one. Supplemental poll number 4, is Bianchi exaggerating when he says the plant-based Beyond Burger he had the other night was just as good as a real hamburger? Yes or no? Mike, explain yourself.
Well, I'm trying to lower my triglycerides. That's my New Year's resolution. That means eating less red meat. I got one of these Beyond Burgers the other night, and I'm telling you guys, it even bled like a real hamburger, all right? These things are amazing. They're plant-based. I don't know how healthy they are, but they're not red meat, and they help lower triglycerides. Yes, these things are delicious.
When's the last time you actually had a real burger to compare?
Oh, believe me, I eat hamburgers and steak like you would not believe.
Okay.
Case in point, the triglycerides.
I can't imagine. Yeah. I just can't. First of all, I've never had one. Evan Fitzgerald, my partner at Boss 35, my buddy, he raves about them also. I've never had one. I just can't imagine how they bleed. How do they make it bleed? It's not real blood. So I don't
sort of like the same way pro wrestlers bleed, okay?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it would be anywhere near as good as the Red Bull. Get out of here.
With 68% of the vote, yes, Bianchi is exaggerating. Get out of here, Mike.
Okay, all
Your
right.
plant-based meats. Get out of here. And finally, the open mic Would You Rather poll. Would you rather be able to dance like Michael Jackson or sing like Freddie Mercury? Adam.
Ooh, that's a tough call. I think I'm going to go with dance. Because, like, if you're in, let's say, you know how I go to the club most every weekend.
Oh, for sure.
I'm in the club. No one's going to be able to hear you sing, but they're going to see your dance moves. That just transcends everything. So I'm going to go with dance, like Michael Jackson.
First of all, I already dance like Michael Jackson. I am the only white man out there who can dance like Michael Jackson. But I can't sing very well, as my co-hosts on this show will attest, and I would love to be the lead singer of a rock and roll band. That's always been my dream, so Freddie Mercury wins this for me.
With 59% of the vote, Sing wins this one. And remember, the Shadoff Shoutout is brought to you by Frank Gay Services. A live operator is waiting for you, and a licensed plumber is ready to help today with a solution to your problem fast. That's the Frank Gay way. FrankGayServices.com.
Adam Shadoff, we will see you on the Fox 35 Sports Zone, my friend.
Bianchi's number one move is the worm. I've seen it.
Adam Shadoff always makes me laugh. All right, straight ahead, Jeff Weltman, president of basketball operations, will join us. We will ask him if the Magic season has already been hijacked by injuries. That is next on Open Mic.
We are FM 96.9 The Game, Orlando's only sports station.
I've come here to say one magic word to you.
Say the magic word.
What is the magic word?
I wish I could play professional basketball.
Then I'll just say the magic words.
Every Tuesday at this time, we have an Orlando Magic guest to give us the magic word. This week, we have the boss, Orlando Magic President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman, joins us. Jeff, welcome to Open Mic. We always appreciate having the boss on. How are you?
Always good to be with you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You have any New Year's resolutions before we get into basketball?
Just get through the season, Mike.
Right?
One day at a time.
All right, the season obviously started with the hot start, 4-0. We were all excited. Then we've had injuries set in again. I'll ask you the same question I asked Coach Clifford last week when Markelle Fultz went down with the torn ACL. Do you ever feel snake bit, Jeff, when it comes to this roster?
That's a fair question, man. We've had, I would say, more than our share of injuries and significant injuries. But you just can't approach it that way. You have to approach it on a case-by-case basis, and each guy has his own kind of path back to health, and we have to make sure that we're, handling that the right way from a medical standpoint, and obviously emotionally that we have to be there with our guys and give them all the support that they need to get through it. So, unfortunately, I would say we don't really have the luxury of looking at it that way. We have games to play. We have guys to get back to health. And, that's the NBA. It's part of the NBA. Injuries are just part of the game, unfortunately.
Jeff, how concerned are you, though, that, again, maybe your two brightest young stars, Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, both rehabbing ACLs now. How confident are you that they will come back and come back strong?
Well, we have the utmost confidence, I would say, first and foremost, in those two guys. Mike, we spend a lot of time talking about, the type of people that we try to bring into our team and, stuff like going through season-long rehabs, is largely dependent on the person and the work and the belief and waking up every day and accepting the grind. And, Jonathan and Markelle are two, great people and they're hard workers and, they care a lot about, obviously their careers, but also about, the team and the people that rely on them. So, that's the first step. And the second step is our performance and medical staffs where we feel like we have great people and, we're getting great counsel and advice and hand-holding and guidance throughout the process. So all you can do is put your faith in everyone that's part of the process, and you just have to be patient at that point. And so I'm very confident that those guys will be back. But unfortunately, they're out for now, and we have to endure the season right now without them and figure out the best way to, go play Boston and on from there.
Jeff, it probably wouldn't be as bad if, Evan Fournier's been out now for 5 games with the back. Chuma Okeke out again. Al-Farouq Amino hasn't been back yet. Michael Carter-Williams. When are these guys? Do you expect these guys back soon?
Just stop, Mike. Just stop. It's coming fast and furious. I don't know what to tell you. We do think that, those guys are all on slightly different timetables, but hopefully a bunch of the guys that you just listed will be back shortly, and we'll start to at least, resemble ourselves a little bit. We're playing with a lot of guys who are being stretched to their limits right now, both maybe as far as like soaking up minutes and then being put into roles that they're not accustomed to, and some young guys that are just being thrown to the wolves right now. And doing so in a climate where I'm sure Coach talked to you about it, but, without really much time to practice. And so it's kind of a toxic brew. And that's what we're dealing with, I'd say, more than most because of our injuries, but it's something that the league is largely dealing with. And, it's something that we're just going to have to contend with this season. I don't know how else to, put it and how else to look at it, this is something that a lot of teams are just discussing now. And how are we dealing with the lack of practice time? And I think there have been a rash of injuries and soft tissue injuries that I know people are concerned about, and the league is ramping up its protocol as best possible to keep us all healthy and safe, and at the same time, put a good product on the floor.
Jeff Weltman, Magic President of Basketball Operations. He's right here on Open Mic. Mo Bamba has returned to the court the last couple of games. How has he looked, and what should we expect from Mo Bamba this season? And what do you expect?
Well, for me, I just expect improvement, and it's hard, Mike. Mo, we've talked about this a lot. Mo is just in a really tricky spot because he just hasn't had a chance to establish a foothold of a summer and off season, due to his injuries and then his illness. And so, honestly, I'm surprised that Mo's even, kind of able to do what he's been doing the last couple of games. And there's a lot of rust there, and there's he hasn't played in a long time. But he's fighting. He's working hard. He's really tried to ramp up his own cardio as best he can without much team practice time. And it's good to see him back on the floor. It's good to see him in a game. Obviously, we have to continue to bear in mind his path to getting on the court right now, and so all those things factor in. But he's done a good job, and now it's hopefully going to be an opportunity for him to show what he's been working on. But first and foremost is obviously ramping him up with the right way and integrating him back into the team. And right now we're dealing with a lot of injuries and whatnot. So we just hope for the best, and we watch him for improvement. And he's a young, growing player who's probably behind even, chronologically where he is just due to his circumstances.
How has the rookie Cole Anthony looked at point guard since taking over, obviously, for Markelle Fultz? What's been your impressions of him?
Well, Cole's a fighter. Cole's probably, tougher on himself than any, coach or GM could be. And he's got to, learn that the league is about, learning and growing and absorbing these punches in the nose early on. And so he's kind of getting his share of medicine right now. But, he always fights. He always does some good things on the floor. And, we're excited about him. I think that Cole's going to be a very good player. And obviously, this isn't what we had in mind when we drafted him, for him to roll out as a starter and, kind of just be thrown out in the fire like this. But, this is what this season has brought. This is what injuries do. This is what kind of dealing with the virus has done. And, rookies this year had no summer league. They have no kind of open gym leading up to training camp, and very little practice time. So I think that's showing up a lot. But I think if you watched us, you see that Cole is going to be able to score. He's going to be able to guard. He's tough, and he plays winning basketball. So we're excited about all the ingredients, and it's going to just as with the journey of any rookie, be us holding his hand and him working with our coaches to absorb knowledge and get reps and get his experience. And I think he's going to come out the other side a pretty good player.
Jeff Weltman, the Magic's president of basketball operations, right here on Open Mic. Jeff, the last couple of things. I guess the NBA's Board of Governors is going to meet today. It's being reported to discuss modifying the health and safety protocols because of the virus. What do you think needs to be done?
Well, we can talk all day. I mean, I can't tell you, Mike, how many health and safety protocols we get thrown at us in the league. I feel is just in continuous, pivot mode because how can they not be? Every day something new happens, and they've got new cases to deal with and new issues to deal with, and they try to learn from those cases and apply to the rest of the league what they're learning. So, there's been a very high level of communication with the league to the teams, and we just had a GM call yesterday and today Board of Governors, and they're just trying to listen to the doctors, put in practice the best possible protocols for us to all remain safe. And I can tell you, it's been layer upon layer upon layer. We have people from BRL testing labs that travel with the teams, and we test on the road every day, and it's a lot. It's very heavy, and it's extra work, extra time. But obviously, the league has always put the health and safety of its players and staff, top of the list. So we all appreciate that, and we'll just wait to see what is coming down the pike, and we'll all pivot and adjust accordingly. It's just we from a basketball side, obviously, we're always hopeful that we can figure out ways to, stay attached to our ability to practice and have shoot-arounds and that sort of stuff. And that's where a lot of the protocols kind of overlap into the basketball, and that's where we always have to, be creative and be vigilant and try to figure out the best ways possible to kind of move our team forward while we're observing all the protocols.
Jeff, last one. Obviously, there have been some game postponements because not enough players are available because of testing and contact tracing and all of that. Is there any way to if you don't have enough players available, is there any talk of expanding the rosters? Is that even possible?
Well, it's funny you say that, Mike. I think you might be a board of governor one day. They've talked about everything under the sun. You can imagine, you've got a room full of, really smart people, and they've talked about everything. There are so many kind of like consequences and unintended consequences, every wrinkle that you kind of, add to the discussion. And when you talk about expanded rosters, you talk about now increasing the pool of, players and by virtue of that, like, who they live with. And so if you add one person per team, that's 30 people. And now you're adding all their family members, and you're increasing the chance of risk and, everything that comes with that. So those things are, being discussed at those levels, and we all kind of wait for direction on what the league deems, most effective way to kind of get through this. We all want to play games. We all want to, stay healthy. And we all want to feel that we're putting a good product on the floor too, and that's the other part of it. We all want to feel that, the NBA is has always embodied the excellence and it's the best basketball league in the world. And so, we want to continue to that standard. And it's kind of amazing that the league's been able to, in effect, create almost this traveling bubble where we can, play NBA basketball on the road throughout this, virus. And, unlike the NFL where we're playing several times a week, it's kind of a remarkable undertaking, and, we're all up for the challenge. So, we hope for the best, and if the league feels that, additional roster spots are the answer, or, whatever protocols they deem, most effective, we'll follow suit and adjust.
Jeff Weltman, we always appreciate you joining us. Thank you for being so candid. Hopefully the Magic get healthier real quick. We appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, Mike. Always great to be with you.
There you have it, Jeff Weltman. Mark Daniels and The Bridge coming your way next.
Mark Daniels joins Mike Bianchi on The Bridge next.
I knew a solar power system provided clean, reliable power, but I didn't know it would cost less than my electric bill.
As the oldest and most experienced solar provider in the state, Solar Source